In 1943, thousands of U.S. bomber crews flew into combat with weapons that froze solid at high altitude. Engineers said the gun was perfect. The military said nothing could be done. Then, a 52-year-old civilian, no rank, no degree, no authorization, picked up a simple metal file and fixed what millions of dollars and the world's best engineers couldn't. This is the true story of Samuel Green and the tiny modification that saved thousands of lives and quietly changed World War II forever. January 23rd, 1943. An uncharacteristically brutal cold had settled over the Eglin Field Proving Ground in Florida. The temperature had plunged to 14 degrees Fahrenheit. Samuel Green stood next to a machine gun that had just failed for the 17th time. The Browning M 2.50 caliber, America's primary aircraft-mounted weapon, was once again frozen solid on the test stand. A thin wisp of steam drifted upward from the barrel, silently underscoring the weapon's inability to perform in high-altitude cold. Major Robert Johnson of the Army Air Force's Armament Laboratory angrily slammed his clipboard into the sand, which was stiff with frost. "This is unacceptable," he growled. "We've got 423 B-17 stationed in England. Each carries 13 of these guns. That's 5,499 machine guns that become useless the moment they climb above 20,000 feet. When they work, our gunners average a 3.1 kill ratio. When they don't, our crews have no defense at all." Green, a 52-year-old civilian toolmaker from Connecticut, listened quietly. He held no degree, had never served in the military, and possessed no formal training in weapons engineering. Still, he examined the jammed gun with a mix of irritation and fascination. Military ordnance experts had already labeled the issue unsolvable. Browning's own engineers had exhausted every accepted remedy. Meanwhile, air crews in Europe were dying behind guns that refused to fire. Green pulled a small notebook from his pocket and wrote a single line, one that would ultimately reshape automatic weapons design. "The gun isn't the problem. We're trying to force it to operate the way we think it should, instead of letting it function according to its own nature." Johnson stared at him. "That makes no sense, Green," he said. "This is a mechanical system. It obeys physics, numbers, tolerances, calculations." Without raising his voice, Green reached into his pocket and produced a worn machinist's file. "Major," he replied, "this weapon wasn't born from equations. John Browning built it on intuition. I understand intuition. I've spent 37 years listening to machines. Give me 1 week and permission to change this gun in ways your engineers won't approve of. I'll make sure it never jams again." Neither man realized they were standing at the beginning of the most controversial modification program in U.S. military weapons history. Within 3 months, Green's unorthodox approach would transform the Browning .50 from a temperamental liability into one of the most dependable machine guns ever produced. Within 6 months, thousands of American airmen would be alive because of it. John Moses Browning's final and greatest creation, the M 2.50 caliber machine gun, had been fully standardized across the U.S. military by 1942. Bombers mounted them in clusters. Fighters depended on them for firepower, and ground and naval forces installed them wherever possible. But extreme cold revealed a fatal flaw. At altitudes where temperatures dropped below -30 degrees Fahrenheit, the M2 began to fail at an alarming rate. In November and December of 1942 alone, 161 of 213 B-17 missions reported M2 malfunctions, a failure rate of roughly 76%. Each bomber averaged nearly 5 inoperative guns per sortie. German fighter pilots quickly adapted, targeting aircraft whose defenses had gone silent. In December, 14 B-17s were lost solely because their guns failed. The Ordnance Department launched a massive investigation. New lubricants were tested. Ammunition was redesigned. Built-in heaters were added. Manufacturing tolerances were adjusted. None of it worked. After months of effort and $2 million spent, the jam rate still exceeded 60%. Green became involved almost by chance. His employer, Pratt & Whitney, had begun producing M2s, and their test weapons jammed in the same way. Engineers insisted the design was sound. Green disagreed. Decades of experience had taught him that no machine behaves perfectly outside theory. One night, he completely disassembled a malfunctioning M2. Every dimension fell within specification. Yet while reassembling it, he felt a faint drag as the bolt carrier slid through its channel. The channel itself was machined to spec, but it contained a minute bend, less than 0.02 of an inch over a foot. Insignificant on paper, but when cold thickened the lubricant, it caused binding. That night, in his basement workshop, Green committed an act that would horrify military engineers. He filed down the bolt carrier, reducing its width to approximately 0.030 inches below the allowable tolerance. According to the manuals, he had ruined the weapon. According to Green, he had given it room to function despite microscopic imperfections. The next day, the modified gun fired 100, then 200, then 500 rounds at -30 degrees Fahrenheit without a single failure. The test officer was both stunned and furious. "You altered a military weapon without authorization," Green answered evenly. "Your specifications create a gun that jams. Mine creates a gun that fires. That's the difference that matters." The weapon was immediately sent to Eglin Field for formal testing. On January 23rd, Major Johnson personally tested the gun. It fired 2,000 consecutive rounds without malfunction. After spending 12 hours in a -50 degree Fahrenheit cold chamber, it fired instantly. Even when packed with sand and grit, it continued to operate. Johnson ordered Green to Florida. On January 26th, Green presented his modification before a room filled with ordnance officers, PhD-level engineers, and Browning's own designers. The objections were immediate. "You violated core design principles. You exceeded calculated clearance limits. This contradicts every engineering model we have." Green listened patiently, then replied, "I don't understand your equations, but I understand machines. Your math says it shouldn't work. The gun says it does." Johnson ended the argument. "Men are dying. Green has a solution that works. Our job is to determine whether it can be applied to every M2 we have, beginning February 1st. Green personally modified 20 M2s from different manufacturers. The test program included standard firing trials, 50 degrees Fahrenheit cold chamber exposure, 5,000 round endurance tests, sand and dirt fouling, simulated 30,000-foot altitude conditions, cold weather failure rates were decisive. Unmodified guns, 68%. Green modified guns, 0.8%. The results were impossible to ignore. By February 1943, approximately 96,000 M2s were in service. Initial hesitation within the Ordnance Department vanished after senior leaders, including Lieutenant General William Knudsen, witnessed the results firsthand. Implementation moved rapidly. 1 week, instructions sent to all armories. 2 weeks, production lines adopted new tolerances. 1 month, mobile modification teams active in the US and England. 3 months, 40,000 guns modified. 6 months. All 96,000 M2s updated combat impact was immediate. Malfunction rates dropped from 57% to under 4%. Bomber losses due to gun failure nearly disappeared. German pilots reported American defensive fire had become continuous and reliable. Ground and naval units reported similar improvements. On November 2, 1943, Captain Robert Johnson's P-47 was heavily damaged by enemy fire. Yet, his weapons never failed. Post-war analysis concluded that without Green's modification, he would almost certainly have been killed. Green received the Medal for Merit in April 1943, but avoided publicity and returned to his workshop in Hartford. He kept hundreds of letters from servicemen who credited his work with saving their lives. A 1946 study later concluded that delays caused by conventional research and the slow acceptance of Green's solution had cost at least 64 bombers and 640 aircrew members. The report urged greater openness to unconventional civilian ideas. Green retired in 1956 and spoke little about his achievement. He died in 1971. His obituary mentioned his medal only briefly. It did not note that over 500,000 M2s eventually incorporated his modification, or that his concept of operational tolerance permanently reshaped American weapons design. Today, the Browning M2 remains in service in over 100 countries. Modern variants still rely on clearances rooted in Green's insight. Of the more than 3 million M2s produced, approximately 2.1 million were built using his modification. Whenever a .50 caliber machine gun performs reliably in Arctic cold, desert heat, or tropical humidity, Samuel Green's legacy is present. He was a toolmaker who believed machines could speak if one was willing to listen. And through a single, simple act in his basement workshop, he saved thousands of lives and quietly altered the course of World War II.
If this story moved you, hit the like button and subscribe to Traces of Valor. Your support keeps these forgotten heroes alive. And tell us, what did this story make you feel? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.